Tweety is one of my favourite Looney Tunes characters, so I was really glad that Shadow of a Doubt focused on Tweety. This is the first segment of the 12th episode of the first season of Baby Looney Tunes, and unfortunately, Tweety isn't really allowed to play in the sandpit with some of the other babies because he accidentally trips and kind of destroys their sandcastle. So he's cast aside and goes off by himself and wishes for a special friend. And that special friend arrives in the form of his shadow. But he doesn't really realise what the shadow is. And there's a lovely scene the first time he sees the shadow, seeing him interact with it and talk to it. And it's really sweet. A little bit sad as well because he's on his own, but really sweet as well. And he decides to have some fun with this shadow and get his own back on the other babies for being mean to him. And I won't say exactly what happens as a result of that. But what I will say is that I was really hoping Granny would explain what a shadow is. And she did. And I think her explanation was very clear. I think it was a good idea for her to use I think it was a torch to help demonstrate shadows. That's something that children can generally replicate at home on their own. And I remember doing, something similar, shining a light on various objects to see what shadows it would make, and generally having fun with shadows. Not so much shadow puppets. I was never very good at shadow puppets, but I think it's very educational. Granny's words that having a shadow with you is like having a special friend is kind of like an extension of having an imaginary friend, except when the sun goes in, your shadow's gone. So it's not always there, even though technically it is. I don't know how you want to judge that. Is your shadow always with you or is it not? But I thought it was very sweet. Tweety was a great choice for this because Tweety starts off quite nervous and quite scared of the shadow, and I think it worked very well. Sylvester would have been a good one as well because I think Sylvester, ironically, is also quite a timorous character, but Tweety was adorable, and Tweety's shadow looked great. I thought it was very, very well animated, the way the shadow was animated, and shadows are not something I notice in animation. But after that point, I started to see the other characters' shadows, which are there just because it's well animated. So that's something I'm kind of more mindfully going to look out for in other cartoons to see when animators are doing shadows and how they do them, because I'm rather fascinated by it. Shadow of a Doubt is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, a very good episode of Baby Looney Tunes.